If you joined us for a quick introduction to the town of El Nido last week, thanks. Context is cool, but the reality is that almost no one comes here for the town itself. Everyone comes here to explore the islands, beaches, and oh so many lagoons that surround the town. There are 4 tours, A through D, all of which are extremely easy to book online, so do that before you get here. We opted for A and C, both of which are full days and lots of kilometers, so it'll take us a while to cover it all. This is also why we put an asterisk when introducing the video as Tour C today. With how tall and steep these mountains are, these means that these bays are just as deep, just as fast. This means that weather and tide changes can have huge impacts on the boating conditions in quite short time frames, and as such, tour operators will often have to change destinations on the fly to make sure everyone is safe. And they don't get sued. So once we'd figured out the right boat to get on, we were on our way. On most tours, you'll get teamed up with other travelers to fill the boat, but we had enough people in our team that we got our own boat, and instead of leaving the harbor at 9 like most of the other tours, we left at the ass crack of dawn to get ahead of the crowds, around 8:30. And if your sea legs are a little shaky like mine, don't worry, the crews, or at least our crew, were very accommodating. Once the whole team was on board, we set off. First order of business, of course, was the safety speech, replete with jokes about vegan sharks and the like that I'm sure he hasn't grown sick of having to say every day. Anyway, this is our boy Giovanni, who's trying to set up his own boat and tour company after having worked for another operator for years. And he was awesome, so best of luck to him. Just like in some of our other longer bike tour videos, this one is one in which I'll let the place just speak for itself and try to shut up as much as possible. It's not like anything we're gonna say is gonna compare to how this place looks. The first spot that we arrived at was a place called the Hidden Beach. Oh wait, no, the Secret Beach, not to be confused with the Hidden Beach that we'll show you later. Very inventive naming conventions. Anyway, after my near-death experience in Dahican, I decided to stay put on the boat and enjoy the views of the seas and the mountains for a while, but let the interns go out and explore for a little bit on their little baby kayaks. I'll stay safe on the big boat for now. This particular beach has to be reached by kayak because the big boats can't make it in, hence the name Secret, even though it's extremely famous. And rightfully so, as it is gorgeous. After a while of bobbing around, it was time to get back to the main boat and head off to our next destination. And while I consider myself to be quite the beach dog, I know it's not a selling point for everyone, but just look at these views. The boat ride is worth the day spent even if you never get off the boat. Paradise. The next spot that we pulled up on is the Hidden Beach. I'm pretty sure. I'm almost certain that the first one was the Secret Beach and this one is the Hidden Beach. I think, probably. Anyway, it doesn't really matter because you get to each of them on the same tour and they're both beautiful and hidden / secret / mysterious or whatever, but emphasis on the beautiful part. It is definitely worth noting here though that you have to walk about 100 meters from where the boats anchor to the actual beach, through this little karst alleyway, which is filled with gorgeous soft sand and very sharp pointy rocks. So a pair of beach shoes are strongly recommended. For sale cheap in El Nido town on the beach if you didn't bring yours. Like the chubby intern who didn't, and he assured me that salt water and open wounds is even less fun than it sounds, so just a heads up. So the Secret Beach, also often called the Secret Lagoon, is simply gorgeous, and as you can see here, there are almost always going to be a lot of people in places like this. You're unlikely to get much seclusion, but who would really expect that places like this wouldn't fill up? Though admittedly, we were here in early February, which is definitely peak tourist season because it's the dry season, so you might get a bit more of it to yourself at different times of the year, but also tropical rainstorms, so that's up to your own discretion. Not that I have to say anything else to justify this place as one worth coming to, being voted number 3 beach in the world and all that back in 2023, but it's time we turn our attention back to an important development. Being surrounded by such perfectly picturesque paradise, sick, more alliteration. I figured that this is the ideal place for me to finally buck up and learn how to swim. Can't miss any opportunities in a place like this, and to be honest, it was much easier than I expected. I basically float, though my rad life jacket probably helps with that, but I'll take all the credit. It was so much fun that I kinda didn't want to stop even when pulled out of the water. But there is another important local tradition that you should all be aware of, and that is that if you see homeboy pulling up with a kayak, he's probably selling coconuts to drink. And rum, being almost impossibly cheap in the Philippines and quite good, for a very reasonable fee, he will put the rum in the coconut and you can drink it all up. But by this time, the relatively more open sea was a calling on this very soggy dog to get back out there, by which I mean my tummy was rumbling and it was time for lunch back on the boat. We anchored in another bay in Matinlock Island, roast pumpkin, rice, lechon, and grilled fish for these hungry bellies with some fresh fruit for dessert. And this halfway point in the day is where we're gonna have to leave you for this week because, well, my editor is slow and we're all slaves to the algorithm, so this has to go out on time. The second half of the day is filled with locations just as nice as the first half, so make sure to check us out next week. Until then, click that like button, subscribe. Peace out.